Sure, not a problem.
Right.
I guess I'll start it off. Coach, I wanted to talk on Tyler Harrell has drawn a lot of praise in the offseason by Sat and some of his peers. Just talk about what you've seen from him at the start of preseason camp.
Yeah, Tyler's a young guy that's been in the program. It's his time to shine, as they say. So he obviously can run really fast straight ahead. We're developing him as a route runner. He can definitely take the top off with that kind of speed. 4.2 type speed is rare. So he's developing his skill set, becoming a much better catcher of the ball, which that's what he's got to do. He can't just run fast. He's got to be able to run routes and catch the ball. I know that's taken for granted, but it was one of those things that he's a guy who can definitely become that person, and we're looking forward to. He has shown lots of signs of being that guy, and we're looking, like I said, looking forward to him getting in some live reps because we have very little experience with live reps. So I think he'll be a guy that will be able to at least, give us some reps somewhere.
Hey, Gunter, Cameron with the Courier Journal. What did you learn about your receiving core from Saturday's scrimmage?
Well, we played a lot of guys evenly, Cameron, which was good because, as I mentioned, we've got some very talented guys, but they haven't had any live experience, meaning game experience. We've recruited those guys. We loved them on tape. We see what we saw in the off season. So now it's time to see what they can do in game type reps. And the only way you can get that experience is to play. Scrimmage is the closest we can get without NFL preseason games. So with the scrimmage, we saw some very encouraging things from really all our guys that have been that we're going to count on, let's say. But you also see that rookie, I'm going to use that rookie term for whether it's a freshman, sophomore, whatever, that those rookie mistakes mean just from inexperience, and they got to go through the growing pains to get there. And hopefully we can limit those, Cameron, but they're going to show. Unfortunately, it's going to be one of those that your wife and everybody in the stands is going to be say, just catch the ball, and it's going to be a technical thing that caused them to either have a drop or have an MA where they're thinking and processing instead of playing. And a veteran, he just knows what to do. It's kind of like grandma. She knows how to make biscuits. Well, your wife's got to learn from her, and grandma ain't always sharing that recipe yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things that your veteran guys, we've got a few of them. Braden Smith, he's a guy who does have game snaps. It's more, seasoned, and there's a few more guys behind him that have a little bit of seasoning, but I wouldn't say that are prime time ready to go. That's why we got to get them ready to go.
Gunter, hey, it's Jody Dimling with Cardinal Authority. You have a lot of guys that it seems like you could play in different positions, guys that are versatile. I mean, even Jordan was saying how he can play inside or outside. With having a group that is inexperienced, is that a good thing that you can move guys around and play them in different spots?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jody. We call it position flexibility. Obviously, if you own a Swiss Army knife, you know what I'm talking about. It has a lot of tools in there that all of a sudden can do different things. And we want guys to be able to do different things, not just be a one-trick pony right there. We want to be able to play inside and outside, but we're going to play to their strengths too. Obviously, with lack of experience, we would like for guys who have played before to be able to put in a game when maybe somebody gets shook a little bit, to get them in the game, to get the other guy settled down and say it's okay. Now, he may not be your best point guard, but he may be your best shooting guard. So let's shift him over there until the other guy kind of gets his feet wet and then bring him back over. I like to term our wide receiver core kind of like building a basketball team. You got a point guard, you got a shooting guard, you got a power forward, you got a center. You want different guys to be good at different things, but also you want to be able to dribble, shoot, play defense, defend the basket, all the things that you want in a great basketball player too. We like to spread the field. I love to call it basketball on grass, old Tark back in the day, UNLV. We want to run the floor, man. We want to stretch the field. We want to do, play up tempo. We've had a lot of success scoring points and being successful here. We're going to do it with tight ends, with running backs, with receivers. So, hey, we'll take them all.
Hey, Coach Michael McCammon, Cardinal Authority. Question regarding two different newcomers. One, a veteran guy in Shai Wertz. How's his transition to wide receiver going? And then true freshman Amari Huggins-Bruce. How are those two coming along so far in camp?
Both are really coming really well. Shai, we don't talk about certain injuries, but Shai is coming off an injury, and he is really starting to get the feel for playing that position. Unfortunately, when he got here, he had that injury, which kind of slowed him down a little bit. He's the guy we talk about Swiss Army knife. He can play quarterback, he can play running back, he can play slot receiver, he can play outside. So he's now learned our offense, and we're trying to see where he fits. So he's had a good camp thus far, and he's got some maturity. He's also got those game experiences that we played. Although it be at another position, it doesn't matter. He doesn't get shook when things get kind of iffy or you have a bad play. He can shake it off and come back to the next one. Amari is a guy who's exhibited a lot of speed and quickness. He's a freshman. He's a guy that, he's kind of like a Tutu size as far as his height and his weight, and actually he's heavier than Tutu, but he's more of that frame guy who can play in the slot and play at the Z like Tutu's doing at the Rams. I don't want to compare him to him. I don't mean that in a lot of ways, but his size and stuff, and he does have really legit speed. So he's working through trying to find his niche in the offense, and then we're also working to find places where do we play these different guys. You got Braden, you got Jordan, you got all these other people, you got Tyler. You got some people that can make some plays. Justin Marshall's having a really good camp, a big guy. So I'd like to develop 8 guys, to be honest with you, if you want to know what I would like to do. I'd like to have 8. That way, when we go full wide, we've got 2 deep. JJ's had a great camp. He's a veteran that a lot of people don't talk about because he's overcome some injuries. He's also just earned his degree. He's a smart guy who can get guys lined up. So, you leave that guy undefended, sometimes, he'll make that 3-pointer on you and win the game, stick the dagger in your heart. I think that happened in Chicago one time with Jordan, who passed it to another guy who made the shot. Is that right there, Cameron? You remember that one? Okay. All right. So everybody has their role. You find your role, get in your role, and be good at your role. And then you can grow that role. Don't try to be something you're not, and we're not trying to force that, but we're trying to force guys to understand that you have to be have some position flexibility. Don't just memorize this position. Learn it by concept, and we're learning by trial and error right now. We're throwing some guys in the fire and seeing where it goes. We also have Jalen Carter, who transferred, who had a tremendous day today. He's a guy that came in and he's done well. So he's showing flashes. So we got guys, we want to see. Just fans hadn't seen them yet, and hey, we're like fans. We hadn't seen them yet either. We want to see them in a game.
Gunter, you mentioned you wanted to get to 8, about 8. Where do you feel like you're at with your receivers now in terms of guys you think you could play on the field? And do you think this will be a committee thing for much of the season?
I guess the best way to answer that, Cameron, yes, I think it'll be committee early until guys decide, hey, who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be the horse that jumps out there and takes the reins and say, hey, I'm the one, okay? And then who's the next one? And then they go neck and neck, and you got your good race, and guys start challenging each other for that deal. But I would say early on, especially first 3 games, that it will be by committee for sure, keeping some guys fresh, using their skill sets, especially young guys or guys maybe you haven't seen as much, to see what they can do, and then we'll figure out where they fit from there. But that would be the best way probably to answer your question.
Hey, Gunter, it's Pat Jaggers, ESPN Louisville. Obviously, your guys compete against the secondary every day in practice, but is there a couple of guys that have just really stood out to you besides maybe Keitrell Clark that have really been giving some of your guys a fit?
I'll be honest with you, the 2 deep on that side have done a tremendous job. The safeties are brutal to go against because they play this type of coverage that you just sit there and bang you. They're big guys, so you got to get them off their spot. So it's a different type of man coverage and different type of coverage. B. Brown and that secondary, Coach G, have done a tremendous job that way. And then, as you said, Clark and some other guys, but some of the young guys are doing real well too. I think they're 2 deep right now, and then trying to fit some guys into that nickel, who's going to be the extra guy there. But same names you mentioned are the guys that stand out because they're ahead of the pack and they've kind of set themselves ahead. But I'm encouraged by, because you should win some and lose some. If you don't lose some, you kind of get really worried that you're going to have to score a bunch. And Coach Brown, the defensive staff, have done a tremendous job of recruiting. First of all, they got a great scheme. It's hard to go against. So I think kids are getting comfortable playing in that system now.
Gunter, hey, it's Jody again. Obviously, Marshawn's a tight end. He's going to stay there. He helps you guys so much in the offense and that. But Scott has mentioned on multiple occasions in this preseason that we will see him perhaps at wide receiver. He's the ultimate Swiss Army knife, and is he not? And as the wide receiver coach, do you try to kind of steal him a little bit from Coach Holt a little?
Well, we share. We'll say it that way. He's a big body guy that's got tremendous quickness, great hands, and is a super route runner. So he becomes what we termed in NFL a nightmare to match up to. So are you going nickel? If they go nickel and have a small guy covering him, that's a mismatch. If you go big guy, he's got the quickness and things now to run by him and to get vertical, and he's got very deceptive speed. Those are the type guys as you see in these spread type offenses that giving people problems. I know that guy from Florida is a first round freak, but those are the matchups that you kind of look for when you can get it. And he's doing more things in camp, and we're relying on him more than ever. One, he's got great game experience. He's been there and done that. He's shown against great competition. So he's a weapon for us, and he's also a weapon that's played, and he's got a lot of responsibility. He's looked up to with the team, and he's a leader.
As a follow-up to what you said earlier, as you've been doing this for a long time, have you ever had a group where you don't know what freak is, you've got a group of these guys, but you don't know who's going to step up? Have you had years like this when it's just kind of early on by committee?
Yeah. As long as I've been going, Jody, Moby Dick was a minute when I got started. So, you've seen a little bit. I've had several. There was a case when I was in North Carolina early that we signed 4 freshmen and 3 out of the 4 went to the NFL, but they started, just young. And this is kind of that way. And I know these guys aren't freshmen, but they're COVID freshmen or they're whatever. So you don't have a lot of game experience with it. So, yeah, I've had some experience, which is nice. So I can reflect on and kind of give these guys and show these guys, hey, you need to be part of a unit. We are a true core, wide receivers that they're counting on each other that, hey, when I get a nick or I get tired or whatever happens, I know the next man up has got my back. So in developing 8 and playing 8 keeps them interested. That keeps them in the room, keeps them practicing. Whereas the last couple of years, we've had a couple of real dudes that, it ain't real hard to figure out the ball is probably going to Dez and Tutu. And then that's where some of the other guys get some love late and some sneaky love, which is kind of nice in a game. And now I'm not sure people are going to know who to focus on. So guys are going to get some touches and some opportunities, and then they got to do something with it,
Hey, Gunter, Cameron again. You mentioned Justin Marshall, and I think we mentioned the same thing last year in fall camp about he really looks the part, and he's practicing well in camp. What's the next step you think for him to take what he's doing in fall camp now and make it into consistent production on the field?
Yeah, great question, Cameron. I think it's his time. Like, he had a guy in front of him that was a very productive player and been playing since a freshman here with Dez. And when you roll guys, sometimes the opportunities don't quite get there. Maybe the ball, he's in the game, but the ball is going to somebody else. And when you did throw it to him, you saw several years that he did catch it and do some really good things with it. I think he's learned, he's matured, and he's ready for his time. And he's shown leadership, and I think it's going to be a great year for him. I would be shocked if it wasn't. You'll see 18 on the field, and like you said, he definitely looks the part when you draw him up, and he's playing the part. So I think it's just opportunities. He just hasn't had as many as we'd like, but he'll get them this year. So be careful what you ask for there, Cameron. You may get it.
Anything else, guys?
No.
All right, let's go.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
Jody, you're looking good, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. See y'all.